50 cents. That's how much your gas price jumped in a single week after 900 American and Israeli strikes hit Iran on February 28, 2026. Crude surged from $65 to $119 a barrel practically overnight. But the same 21-mile choke point has dictated what Americans pay at the pump for over 50 years. And the pattern behind it explains why record U.S. oil production still cannot shield your wallet. In 1973, the Arab oil embargo quadrupled crude prices, sending them from $3 to nearly $12 per barrel within months. Gas lines stretched for blocks as the world learned how quickly a distant conflict could empty American wallets. Fast forward to 2008, oil futures soared to $147 a barrel, driven by market speculation and fears about Middle East supply. Drivers watched prices jump week by week with no end in sight. Then, in 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine pushed Brent crude past $100, sparking another global scramble. Each time, a single choke point or flashpoint in the region triggered a chain reaction, proving that the price at the pump moves at the speed of crisis. The Strait of Hormuz is just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, yet it stands as the most powerful lever in the world oil system. Every day, about 1/5 of all oil traded globally, close to 20 million barrels, passes through this single waterway between Iran and Oman. The strait is deep enough for the world's largest tankers, but narrow enough that a single threat, real or rumored, can send oil prices soaring within hours. Traders call it the ultimate risk premium because even before a single barrel is lost, the mere possibility of disruption pushes up the cost at the pump. For decades, this choke point has meant that a conflict thousands of miles away can reach into an American wallet overnight. February 28, 2026. The United States and Israel launch a joint air campaign against Iran, unleashing nearly 900 precision strikes in under a week. Within hours, Iran fires back, not just with missiles, but with a new kind of weapon, swarms of Shahed drones targeting oil terminals, refineries, and tankers up and down the Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil moves every day, becomes a no-go zone almost overnight. Tanker traffic collapses by more than 90%. Ship tracking data shows the daily parade of 300 vessels dropping to single digits. On March 1st, only a handful of tankers brave the passage, while hundreds more sit anchored, waiting for insurance coverage that no longer exists. The market reacts before a single American driver even hears the news. Brent crude, trading in the mid-60s per barrel just days before, rockets to $119 per barrel by March 3rd. The textbook rule: every $10 jump in crude adds about 25 cents to a gallon of gasoline, plays out in real time. Gas prices. At the pump leap, 54 cents in a single week, the steepest climb since the 2022 Ukraine invasion. Diesel, the fuel behind every delivery truck and repair van, surges by nearly 90 cents per gallon. For a long-haul trucker, that means an extra $150 or more at every fill-up. For families, the cost hits on the next receipt at the repair shop, the grocery store, or the ride-share app. The chain of cause and effect is brutally direct. Airstrikes spark retaliation. Drones close the world's oil artery, and within days, the price at the pump jumps by 50 cents. The shock is not abstract. It arrives as a higher bill stamped with today's date in the hand of every American driver. A gallon of gasoline in the United States is a direct product of global crude oil prices, and the math is brutally simple. For every $10 that crude rises, the price at the pump climbs about 25 cents. This is not just a rule of thumb, it is how the industry has tracked price shocks for decades, from the 1973 embargo to the 2008 speculation surge and the 2022 Ukraine war. In the first week of March 2026, crude jumped from $65 to $119 a barrel, an increase of $54. Apply the 25-cent rule, and you would expect retail gasoline to rise by about $1.35 a gallon. But the actual national average increase was 54 cents. Why the gap? Part of it comes down to inventory lag. Gas stations and refineries still had stocks purchased at lower prices, so the full impact did not hit all at once. Some retailers squeezed their margins, absorbing a chunk of the spike to keep customers from bolting overnight. But the direction was clear. The market passed through the shock almost immediately, with the rest set to follow as older inventory ran out. Diesel moved even faster. National averages jumped nearly 90 cents per gallon in that same week, with some truck stops reporting wholesale jumps of more than $1. The reason is that diesel's price is tied not just to crude, but to refinery output and global shipping demand. When the world's supply chain is squeezed, diesel margins stretch, and every delivery, from groceries to car parts, gets more expensive. For a long-haul trucker, that means an extra $150 per fill-up. For drivers and small businesses, the cost shows up in everything from repair bills to shipping fees. A refinery analyst might compare the process to an assembly line running on just-in-time parts. When the main supplier shuts down, the line keeps moving for a day or two, but soon every shortage is felt right down to the end product. That is why a conflict thousands of miles away, closing a 21-mile waterway, can translate into a receipt stamped with a higher price in a matter of days. The system is designed to transmit shocks, not absorb them. Record production in the United States sounds like a shield, but for most drivers, the numbers do not add up at the pump. The United States pumped over 13 million barrels a day in 2025, more than any country in history, yet a war half a world away still spiked gas prices by 50 cents in a week. The flaw runs deeper than headlines about supply and demand. It starts with what comes out of the ground. Most oil produced in the United States is light and sweet, while nearly 70% of refineries in the United States were built decades ago to handle heavy, sour crude from places like Venezuela and the Middle East. That mismatch means American crude is exported to refineries overseas, while the United States imports the grades it actually needs to make diesel and jet fuel. When the Strait of Hormuz closes, the heavy crude that keeps American refineries running gets cut off, and there is no quick fix. Pipeline workarounds, like the Saudi East-West line and the route from Habshan to Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates, can move a combined 5 to 7 million barrels a day, but those lines were already running near full tilt before the first drone strike. Meanwhile, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, once the country's emergency cushion, sits at just 415 million barrels, barely half its authorized maximum. With the reserve depleted and the wrong kind of oil in the wrong places, the system offers little protection. For drivers, the result is clear. Even with record output, the structure of the United States oil system cannot stop a foreign crisis from hitting every gas receipt. Halima Croft, head of global commodity strategy at RBC Capital Markets, doesn't mince words about the scale of the shock. This is the largest price surge since the 1970s embargo, driven solely by the unprecedented closure of the world's most vital oil choke point using low-cost drones. The market's reaction, she notes, is immediate. A single drone strike on a storage tank can lift Brent by $7 in 10 minutes. For Croft, the real story is how a 21st century risk, remote asymmetric and cheap, can move prices faster than any government response. Claudio Galimberti, chief economist at Rystad Energy, points to the lingering effects that outlast the headlines. Even after fighting stops, oil prices stay elevated because damaged infrastructure and spiked shipping insurance keep supply constrained, and drivers pay at the pump long after the news cycle moves on. He breaks down how war risk insurance premiums, which once added pennies, now pile dollars onto every barrel shipped. For shippers and refiners, that means higher costs that do not disappear with a ceasefire. Bob McNally, founder of Rapidan Energy Group and former White House energy advisor, puts the American production paradox in perspective. U.S. domestic production is the only reason oil didn't hit $200 immediately, and without it, this would already be the worst fuel price crisis in American driving history. McNally's view is clear. Record output is a cushion, but not a shield. The structure of the global oil market means that even with all the crude America can pump, a foreign conflict can still reach straight into a driver's wallet. If oil climbs to $150 or even $200 a barrel, the numbers for American drivers become impossible to ignore. The national average for regular gas would cross $6 a gallon, pushing a single fill-up for a family SUV toward $150. For pickup trucks and small business fleets, the cost could be even higher. Wood Mackenzie's scenario math shows that every $10 jump in crude still translates to about 25 cents more per gallon at the pump, but at these levels, the cumulative effect is staggering. Diesel, the fuel that keeps delivery vans and repair trucks moving, would surge past $6 per gallon nationwide. That cost does not just hit the person at the pump, it ripples down every supply chain. When a long-haul trucker pays an extra $200 to fill up, the price shows up in everything from groceries to the bill at the mechanic. Repair shops and parts suppliers pass along their rising diesel costs, making even a simple brake job or tire replacement more expensive for households. The pain is not limited to drivers, it spreads through shipping, home repairs, and the cost of everyday goods. For millions of Americans, the question becomes unavoidable. What kind of energy system would it take to make the price on that gas receipt immune to a war halfway around the world? As crude moves from $65 to $119 a barrel in days, the price on your pump reacts instantly, no matter how much oil America produces. Until drivers are insulated from choke points like Hormuz, every foreign conflict remains a hit to your wallet. What would true energy security really look like?